Hi again, people. It's me, Barbara. I wanted to tell you more things about how I run my Son-Rise program to make it easier for you to run yours. I wanted to tell you about how I give feedback. So I don't know if this exactly would be what the Institute would, like any of my videos, or some of them are what the Institute recommends, and some of them are what I differ, how I differ, and some are in the middle. But what I do for feedback is I have the person go in with my daughter after I do some initial training, and there's a 30-minute initial training video also on my YouTube site here, my first session training. And once they go in, I videotape them. I set up this type of setup with an input from the playroom and record them for at least 10 minutes, sometimes 15, and I watch it, and then I note what looks like it's generally on a piece of paper. I have like what they're doing, like one column, and I have codes for that. So J would be joining, Cell GL was celebrating green lights, which is interactive things, interactive gestures, or Cell IG, which is my way of saying celebrating interactive gestures, like looking at you and talking to you, etc., on one column. Then I have the next column on an Excel spreadsheet I have is what I would recommend they do additionally or differently. So let's say they're adding variety to the conversation in this column, and then actually I would be joining because she's isming. I would put that like J in the second column, and then I would note anything about that, like something, if there was some note about what was happening at the moment. In fact, I almost like narrate. Let me turn off my phone real quick. There. Okay. So I almost like narrate what's going on the right-hand column of my Excel spreadsheet. Like, da-da-da, this person's like, Anna says this, da-da-da, and I put slash, no response. I'll make like a 0 slash, and she says this, and I have little notes. So all the way through I can tell what's happening. But on the left I can tell if there's a pattern, like you're asking a question, but actually she's isming. You're asking a question, you're talking to her, but actually she's isming. You're doing this, but actually she's isming. Pretty soon I see 2 or 3 things all lining up. I go, okay, this is clearly the thing that we want to focus on. And you just look for a pattern. Or you go like, I would be adding variety, but you're doing nothing. Like, I'll put, I'll put on the left-hand column, I'll put like nothing, or not, or like just responding, and I'll put on the next column, I would be adding something. So I'll be like, the number 1 th means add one thing. I have my own code, so I just type them in like shorthand. Then I write, what she said, and then what I would be doing differently. So the spreadsheet I can show you, actually that'll be up on I'll put that on my website, the format, what I would use. But what you do then is you bring the person out and you ask them, I'm saying this, what I do is I would ask them first, how did you feel in your session? Which is like, you're trying to get at their attitude. So if they're like, I was nervous, I was happy, I was kind of all right, instead of I was feeling great. If somebody goes like, it's all right, then you go like, wow, it's just all right. You actually want to ask them anything that deviates from I was really happy and comfortable, you want to get into. So if somebody's like, oh, I was fine, I was all right, then you might want to skip that this time and go on to something that the person was like totally missing the playroom, like they weren't joining a whole category of things, or you want to get on past that. But sometimes you want to go back if it's really not really excited and happy. You want to go back and go, why was it just all right? Why were you just all right? Like, why weren't you really happy to see her? Like, you came all this way, you got accepted here, you're learning all this great stuff. Why just okay? So you want anything that deviates from the basic attitude of loving, accepting, non-judgmental, happy, and we mean really happy, like the 3 E's like they teach at the Institute: energy, excitement, enthusiasm. If you see somebody who's like, no, it was pretty good, then you're like, why is that? Why not great? And you try to get into that. You want to use dialogue format, the option process dialogue, which is why you want to go to the Institute as fast as you can. You want to take all those classes at the Institute where they have a Wednesday night or a Monday night, Wednesday night, where they give you a little extra class. So let's say you're at Fearless and you want to go to that dialogue class at 4:15 to 6 something. They have a class after class. You want to go to all those classes and master that. You want to do their dialogue class. They have a whole week long that's a class called Power Dialogues, and they have advanced Power Dialogues. Trust me, you'll use this in your program. I absolutely use it. You might even be sitting there with a person and they're bouncing their leg, and you'll be like, why are you bouncing your leg? And they might say, well, I'm really upset about blah, blah. And you get into something that you would have totally missed because they're just sitting there bouncing their leg. And I've actually done that. And I'm steeped in dialogue questions, because that's how you get at what's really going on with a person. So then let's say they feel like they're doing really good. Oh, the 2 branch points are, a person says, I was really nervous because. I was really uncomfortable that you were watching me and recording me because. I think you're going to judge me. I don't think I'll go to camera. Whatever it is, that, from what I've learned, is a branch point, and you take all of your notes and you put them down and you don't touch them again, unless it just comes up a little bit as conversation at the end, like, oh, here's a good thing you were doing. By the way, you did great. You normally just go into, in a dialogue format, remember, because you're going to need the dialogue, you go into why were you nervous, because that overshadowed absolutely everything. And what it means is that that person was not nervous next time. They might be completely different, and almost everything you said would be irrelevant. So it's because they're nervous that they're having a problem. And you want to get, because the attitude, is the core. Okay, so number 1 is you ask about how they're feeling. If they're feeling really uncomfortable, again, you just drop all your other notes, because they're all about a person who's nervous. And you spend the whole rest of the time doing dialogue about why are you uncomfortable. You talk through, and I can go in detail about that later. If they're comfortable, generally comfortable, happy, pleasant, they had a good time, if they say I had a good time, then you kind of go, okay, well then, do you have any questions? Because these are things that they already have like a receptacle for in their head. They're thinking, why did she do this? Or what does it mean that she shut the door on me? And they're wanting that answer. It is completely ready to receive that answer, and it's not going to be any burden. They're waiting for that. That's what the question means, is I'm like this. Please fill me. That's what the question is, okay? So you answer the questions, as many as they have. It goes the whole rest of the time you answer questions. If they're done after a certain amount of time, and you do about a half hour, I don't do more than about a half hour feedback. So if you can keep it to less, feel free to do 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I'm just saying there are times I totally skipped feedback because I was like, oh, I only have like 15 minutes. I can't possibly face that. No, it would have been better. Trust me, it's always better. Even if you just catch one thing and you leave them with, I watched you for 5 minutes, because let's say you're running short. I watched you for 5 minutes. I noticed that you didn't celebrate whenever she did this thing. She did it twice. That's your feedback. That's good enough. Anything that you can try to keep on a regular schedule of once a week with a person, it helps you move forward. Okay, so getting back to you answer all their questions, and there's more time. Then you get into your notes. You pull out that spreadsheet where you got, this is what they did. This is what I would prefer that you did, or let's add this or something. And then there's that column describing sort of like what was going on. She was by the closet. She said, give me the crayon. And you said, I don't know, look at my eyes. And then I would say, you wouldn't want to say that. Like, I'd make notes, like, don't tell her what to do. At this point, you're just going to be responsive and user-friendly, whatever my notes would be. So I take that out and I run down there and I go through everything that the person was doing really well. Like, oh, by the way, you did this thing I haven't even taught yet, which is you added variety. So see, she said something about, here's my poodle puppy, and you said, oh, my sister has a poodle. His name is Jack, and he's black, and he's got like a funny shave also. I said, you just added variety. We're going to teach that later. It's really great that you're doing that. Do more of it, on the belief that anything that person's doing I want more of, I'm still celebrating it, because everything I do from top to bottom of this program is consistent with the Son-Rise philosophy and the option process philosophy, which is, if I want you to do something more of something, I celebrate it. I don't criticize you or judge you for doing less than or different than what I want. I don't even judge it to start with. Not only I don't tell you, I don't even judge it to start with. And then I just say, this is more useful than what I want. Can you do more of it? And I celebrate the things you already did. So I run through the list. I'm like, oh, and this is great. You joined her. It was like a mirror. You guys moved together beautifully. It was like synchronized swimming. She flapped and you flapped. It was great. I pointed all out. You even did the joining on the sounds. Great for that. Last time you didn't join her body position and postures. This time you included those. Good job. And I remind them from like last time if they had been moving on their feedback. And then I get to the thing I would want to do differently. So after all that's being said and done, and often questions will come up as it comes up to, like, oh yeah, and by the way, she wouldn't let me have the toy, or whatever it is, and we have a conversation, why did you want the toy? And that may turn out to be you run out of time and you just focus on that, or she hid the iPod and brought it out, and then we talk about no media in the playroom. That's a whole nother video. But normally you end up adding one thing that you would like them, just like we do in the playroom, we add one thing. So you just say, okay, there were all these times she was isming using verbal sounds and you missed it, or you were out of position, so you kept missing that she was staring off when you kept talking to her about the book. So you want to change positioning. Like if you watch that initial training video, you want to be at mutual peripheral vision. So you were this way and you couldn't see that she was staring off because you were next to her. You want to be like have your peripheral vision and her peripheral vision overlap like that. Anyway, so I'll be like, next time work on positioning. Or you were too high. You're sitting, she's lying here on the ground, and you're sitting up and your head's here, and she's going to see your feet, and you see the top of her head. So whatever, let's say we work on positioning. Or, you know, we are doing verbal joining, and she's talking, and you're adding things, but you're talking louder than her. Like, as I said, there's like 25 things to learn about joining, 25 things to learn about celebrating. There's a bunch of other things to learn, but the main thing, though, is that you give just one thing. Okay, occasionally I'll give them one additional thing if it's small, like you notice the thing about positioning. Okay, we're going to match up. Yeah. They'll say, oh, yeah, I forgot, I didn't notice, or whatever. Then you go, okay, then the big thing then would be, and you give them the next thing, that if you had to pick one thing to have the biggest impact, so it's the thing that comes up the most often, or let's say it's the one thing, like your child's holding something and the person goes, you can't have that, it's too dangerous, and they end up fighting over the pencil, which is more dangerous, and then the child has a big tantrum for the next hour because you said this was too dangerous, and none of the other volunteers say that, and she in fact really hasn't had any trouble with pencils. And we have a whole conversation about how when you really want something to change, and instead of judging and trying to force it, you try to explain, and let's say that becomes the whole feedback. So the point is, the thing that overshadowed, the one thing, if you could change it, that person doesn't hardly celebrate at all in their session. They celebrated, the whole session would seem different. You know, so you're going to have to use your judgment on that. Sometimes it's like literally, because it's an imperfect world, like I said, you're running a Son-Rise program, you come home late from the gym, you think you're going to watch them for 15 minutes, you get to watch them for 5, you get to like do their feedback for 5, still give it a shot. There's always something, not always, but you might even just say, you know, this looked really good. You seem like you've really incorporated this thing I taught you last time. You're celebrating a lot more often. I definitely heard you add things. You know what I'm saying? So you can just say, like, if you can't come up with anything that you really notice could be changed, and think, you know, what do I want to add next? And then do it next time. So don't be afraid for it to be short. Sometimes it's easier for the receiving end. They just want to hear something brief, and they can. I still remember a 2 to 3 minute feedback from Bryn. I still remember exactly what she was saying. It was just one little thing, and it stuck with me. So I guess that's it. That's my general feedback format. So just to review, you have a spreadsheet. You record the video for about 10 to 15 minutes, ideally at least 10. You watch the video and take notes on an Excel spreadsheet. I do it right on my laptop. At the same time as I'm watching the video on the same laptop. I use Photo Booth on my Mac. I'm recording this in Photo Booth. Okay. I then look for patterns, and I look for what the person is doing that I would recommend that they do differently, or that what they're doing that I really celebrate. I bring them out. I have my daughter busy with the next volunteer. I usually have the person overlap by 30 minutes the next person, so we have complete, or we do it over a snack time or over a meal, so my daughter's busy eating with my son or something. And then I go over the feedback with them, in particular in the following order. How did you feel in the room? Not judging. Remember, don't judge. Don't have them say, I think I did well. That's not what you asked. You asked, how did you feel? Not how do you judge that you did. So how did you feel? Make sure it's an emotion word. I guess if somebody keeps refusing to give you an emotion word, you might say, how come you don't have a word that explains how you felt, and all the words are about how you judged your session? You might go into that as a dialogue. But you ask them, how did you feel? Then you go off on a branch point. If they felt uncomfortable and bad, you just focus on that. If they felt good, you go to the next thing, which is, do you have any questions about your session? And you answer all the questions. And then if you run out of time, that's fine. You can just go next time. Don't give them anything, teach that enough if they had all those questions. Then next time, let's say the questions are brief. They have 2 questions. You're done in 5 minutes. You got 15 or 20 minutes. Then you go into, let's learn something more, but let's have you celebrate more often. This is why it's important for it to be frequent. Or this is why it's important you join this thing instead of not joining the talking. You go into some teaching point. You try to give it some depth, give examples, and you'll have those all on here, by the way. I'm recording all of them. I decided to record all of them for posterity, just to be nice, and it makes it also faster for me to train eventually. I guess I'll use these videos. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Works really well. See you next time. Bye-bye.